this is where we are. I think that across the country, the issue of sexual assault and the way that it's adjudicated and investigated on college campuses is changing rapidly. Virtually everybody is in this same place that we are, of trying to really make sure that we have the right policy and that we're managing the policy properly. In administrative terms, it collects in a single policy all of the various pieces that before had been fragmented across the Student Code of Conduct. So it sort of it brought to one location all of the information about sexual assault.
Probably the thing that we enhanced the most was being clear about what consent means regarding sexual assault. We also talked specifically about sexual misconduct and clarified some of the definitions so students could understand what really does constitute sexual misconduct based on our code.
The other thing that it does is to sort of declare the primacy of the concept of consent and its significance.
I think that having a policy has made a huge difference, but we still have some ways to go.
The Licking County Prosecutor was most recently involved in working with Denison collectively and collaboratively as a result of the litigation around the Galano versus Denison case.
We received information earlier this year about some instances that had allegedly taken place in some years past, and we are asked to look at it in a criminal fashion because of a civil lawsuit. That is, one or more victims didn't want anything done back when things happened, but now that they've been sued, they want something done. That puts us in a very difficult position.
I think that where we diverge some is in sort of how we approach the matter of reporting. We understand, first of all, that students are reluctant to report, and that as a consequence, they often report long after the incident has occurred, and that they often don't really want to share very much information, and that they also often don't want to be involved in any kind of adjudication, either on campus or off campus.
The dynamics of a victim of sexual assault not wanting to do anything because of privacy concerns that we wouldn't be successful, it's a my word against his word kind of thing, embarrassment, or all the above, those are dynamics we see in all kinds of cases. We have victims not want to do things all the time. I, as a public prosecutor, can't always honor that.
From a theoretical standpoint, I can understand where he's coming from, theoretically, that he wants to, end this kind of crime or make this crime public on campus. And so theoretically, I think that's what we all want.
What does that do to the general student-faculty relationship when, right now we say, oh, I've gone over to my professor's house for dinner. Oh, I've gone over to, I've gone to conferences with this professor. I've developed some sort of, friendship with this professor outside of strictly the academic relationship. I think to that extent, you develop trust problems in that relationship.
And people think I'm requiring things that the law doesn't require. That's not true. I'm simply putting a procedure in place to get it done. Even if I wasn't a prosecutor, if I become aware of the existence of a felony and it hasn't been reported to authorities, the law puts an obligation on me to report it. And I didn't create that legal obligation. That's in the code book. You can pull off my shelf right here, and it's been on the books for nearly 30 years or more.
I think that it makes things even more difficult than they already are, his mandate, because he's not on this campus and he doesn't live or work on this campus. So I feel like he just might not have any idea what it's like to report, and what it's like to have relationships with your professors. I think to take away that relationship, or to take away like the confidence in that relationship, as far as like being able to talk about something that happened in your life and that's really affecting someone, and to have the professor have to like report it, like legally be obligated to report it, I think that is such a violation.
I think that there's still a lot of misinformation out there, and that hopefully, I'm just hoping that if we can get the accurate information about what this memo is, what the school is required to do when a sexual assault case needs to be reported, that maybe we can change this policy if people have a problem with it.
So if a victim comes to an RA or to a teacher or a staff member they're comfortable with, says, there's something I need to share with you, there's something that I really need to tell you about that happened to me, the RA or the teacher or whoever could pull out the form and say, all right, if this is of sensitive nature, please, sign an intent, how you would like this information to be handled. So whether it be, there'd be options to continue to go along with the whole process, or simply time and place of incidents but no names. What we're really trying to do that way is to balance effective record keeping on the part of Denison while still trying to create a safe or larger pool of accessibility for victims.
Common sense tells you that's a useless gesture. That's like me telling you, hey, I heard a bomb threat. Well, what building? I'm not telling you. Well, who told you? I'm not telling you.
If a victim were to come forward and say, I allege that I was assaulted on Chapel Walk on Saturday night at 10 o'clock, that could be as much as the alleged victim wants to say, and that's all we've got. And then we really can't go very far with an investigation. But that still might be very helpful, because if subsequently another person were to come forward and say, I too was assaulted on Chapel Walk, well, now we have information that we can begin to use to put together more of a case.
It puts in the hands of the university the responsibility that the law places on my office and the police. So part of it is that's not their job. That's not their role. Their role is to teach kids.
We do have a Title IX obligation to do that. We don't have a choice about whether we investigate cases or whether we take action to preserve a safe community. We're obliged by law to do that.
If I allow the university to do those law enforcement related steps, why shouldn't I allow the big company when there's sexual harassment in the workplace that's alleged to have been a crime? Do I let the management of that facility do the instruction of the would-be victims as to what the law is? I don't think so.
But here's one more piece of this, is that is maybe worth noting, is that the Granville Police Department is a small police department, and they have fewer staff members than Denison does. And so I think sometimes it's important for us to be able to be here doing investigations on our own campus and collecting information on our own campus, because sometimes GPD is stretched thin.
I know that there's been a lot of people don't understand the process of like how to go about reporting a sexual assault, and like there's I know a lot of issues with going through the appeals process here at Denison.
A system that doesn't require witnesses to be precise, exact, that don't have formalized rules of evidence can lead to the appearance of one witness saying two different things.
But a lot of people feel that the people who are accused of sexual assault are able to hire lawyers and not really suffer a real consequence because of just the way that the system within Denison and the Community Rights and Standards Board works.
I think that the same board that handles, academic dishonesty, or like I was talking about, like vandalism, anything like that, you know, handles the same like sexual assault things. And I think because, I mean, share advocates go through like a month-long training, basically over almost 40 hours of training. But we're not the ones who are making these decisions.
The Community Rights and Standards Board doesn't deal with academic integrity cases. That's actually a different board entirely. Community Rights and Standards Board deals with all violations to the Student Code of Conduct. And they do that not within sort of a legal perspective, but within a community rights and standards perspective. It is not about a legal proceeding. It's about a community proceeding.
If there is somebody that poses a risk to the next person, then give me a chance to stop that. You know, because I'll bet you, if we could take a poll of every victim of any sexual assault anywhere, not just on Denison campus, not on any campuses, but anywhere, and you ask them this question, okay, would you have made a potentially different decision had you known this person over here had done it to somebody before you? You're not the first victim, you're the second. How would you feel about finding out a year from now he did it to somebody else, and maybe that wouldn't have happened had you come forward after all?
So I think that having some kind of forum or like a panel discussion with him, members of the administration, and members of the DCJ Senate or share advocates, people who kind of have a voice on campus who are really passionate about his issues, just having that kind of dialogue between him with the administration mediating and the students would be really helpful, because I think that like we can go back and forth with documents all the time, but you know, I know that things get lost in communication, things are misconstrued, and I think that sitting down face to face talking about this would really bring away this kind of grayness around the issue.
It just feels like there is such a disconnect. When you go up that hill from Granville, you're entering into a different culture because of the nature of our academic social relationship. We're more about campus continuity. We're more about making sure that as a community we can heal and comfort each other.